Hi, my name is Earl. I'm an alcoholic. Oh, man. I'd like to thank Dick and CV for inviting me to come to Kona. It's an honor and a privilege. I'd like to thank Stan for picking me up at the airport and getting me here. Okay, that was fun. Now I got to take this off. What's supposed to keep this on? I'm sorry. Was I supposed to keep this on? Jeez, I made a mistake already. God. This award goes to Tom. Tom, come up and take this. No, he doesn't want it. Tomorrow. Okay. I started drinking when I was 12 years old. The only reason I started drinking was because somebody said, "Would you like a drink?" And I said, well, yeah, I would. Having no idea what that meant or what the point of that was going to be. I was 12 years old. Actually, earlier on in my life, I started sleepwalking. I would wake up in the middle of the night, walk through the house, turn on the lights, 4 years old, go to the foot of my parents' bed, wake them up, talk to them for a little while, scare the hell out of both of them, turn around and walk back through the house, turn off the lights as I would go and get back in bed. My parents found this bizarre, and they had a battery of tests done on me, and the answer they came up with was that every night when I would go to sleep, they would give me a tablespoon of this liquid and just knock me out. No more sleepwalking. Right? Solved the problem. And I think just subconsciously I got the information very early in life. If things aren't going the way you want them to, take something. So I sort of filed that away and went on with my life. 12 years old, my father decided it was time for me to become a man. They ran a bunch of more tests on me and determined that I had a very high IQ. I don't have it anymore, so I'm not bragging. It's gone. Long gone. But I got accepted to this boarding school, little think tank for boys, and they drove me there. They just, my father wasn't one for explaining things. Just get in the car. So we got in the car, and the family, we drove and drove and drove. I have no idea where we're going. We get there. I get out of the car. My father gets out. Everyone else stays in the car. He comes over, puts a suitcase down next to me, shakes my hand, and says, "This will make a man out of you," gets back in the car and drives off. Now, the fact is that was the beginning of what would be a wonderful education for me. It's held me in good stead to this very day. The feeling was that I had just been thrown away by the people who knew me better than anybody else on earth, and I had no idea what I'd done wrong. I was horrified by this. Called my family for 3 days, begging them to come get me. Hated this place. So it was like they had scoured the earth to find 250 of the brightest, most disturbed young boys they could find and put them on this campus. And they were from all over the world. And everybody in that school was 13 to 18, and I was 12. I was the youngest and smallest kid in the whole school. And that, being 12 doesn't mean anything to anybody except a 12-year-old. When everybody else is a teenager, you're 12. That's all you want to be, is a teenager. And it's very clear that a horrible mistake has been made. These people belong together. I'm the odd man out. I'm the loser. I got to get out of this place. And nobody would come get me. After 3 days, something broke inside me, and I just woke up in the morning and said, "You know what? They don't want me. I don't want them." And I turned my back on my family, and I really never went back. I was there I had no tools for living in this school. I mean, I had no tools for living. I was 12 years old, 5 feet tall, 104 pounds. Who needs tools? Somebody, get up, you get up, eat, you eat, go to school, you walk up to school. They ask you questions, you answer them, you come home, eat, do your homework, go to bed, and start over the next day and do it. You don't really need to figure a lot of things out. But in this place, you needed some tools for living, and I had none. My first tool for living was violence. I was walking around the campus with my little head down, my books, trying not to make eye contact with anybody, and I met Tiny. Every high school's got a guy named Tiny. He's 6'4", 240. He's a guard on the football team. And he was the biggest guy in the school. And Tiny came up to me and said, "How you doing, punk?" And he slapped me in the back of the head and sent me and my books flying. And I had this like out-of-body experience, where your head is saying, no, don't do this. And as I got up and walked over and hit Tiny as hard as I could. And Tiny looked down at me and said, "You got a lot of guts, kid." And then he beat the crap out of me right on the spot. So I'm taking the beating and I'm thinking, this is going all right. This is going pretty well. This is going okay, because what was most important to me was I was terrified of Tiny. I was terrified of this guy. And he had said before he commenced beating me, "You got a lot of guts." First tool for living: violence masks the fear. If I'm terrified and attacking you, it doesn't occur to anyone that I'm terrified. They just see this maniacal little child running at them. What's the matter with him? And word spread across this campus like wildfire. Watch out for the little Hightower guy. He's a maniac. He attacked Tiny. So, I'm there 3 days, and I've got a reputation that has absolutely nothing to do with who I am. So as far as I can see, the hole's just getting deeper. I'm sitting in my room waiting for the bleeding to stop, and the cool guys are coming around already. And Matt swung by my room, and he said, "Hey, you want to smoke a joint?" And I said, "Well, yeah." I had no idea what he was talking about. No idea what that meant. All I knew was this. All I heard was, "You want to come with us?" And as far as I could tell, I was alone in the universe at this point. And I would have gone anywhere with that guy. No matter, he could have said, "We're going to go kill the Spanish teacher. Do you want to come?" I'd have said, "I'm with you." Let's go. And we picked up Steve along the way, and we went behind the dormitory, and Steve had a Tupperware container full of cheap red wine. And we went behind, and I'm standing there looking at these two complete strangers, and Matt lights this joint, takes a hit and hands it to me, and I just did what he did. And then the wine came around, and I took a pull on the wine. I'm staring at these guys. I have no idea why we're doing this. I don't get it. Everything is foreign to me. I'm afraid of my own shadow. I don't like this. And it happened. That thing that makes me bodily different from my fellows occurred. And this thing just kind of eased up over me. And I, for the first time in my life, my long, lonely 12-year life, I felt comfortable standing where I was standing, doing what I was doing with the people I was doing it with. And I had never felt that way before. And if you've never felt that way in your life, the first time it hits you, it's like a spiritual experience. To just be comfortable standing here. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know, is it the pot? Is it the wine? Is it the fact that I'm here with my two closest friends, Matt and Steve? That I feel this connection to? That somehow we, the three of us, are now going to face the world together? This was an important moment for me. I didn't know what it was. All I knew was that I paid no price for it. And I have to remember that today. This day I have to remember that I paid no price for it. There were no consequences for doing that. I didn't smoke a joint, drink a little red wine, and murder Steve. I didn't end up in a mental institution. I didn't end up in jail. Everything was okay. There was no downside that I was experiencing to go along with this incredible sense of relief and calm that had washed over me. So I based on my experience, excuse me, there was no reason not to do this. And I made a strong commitment on that afternoon. I said, I'm going to do this as often as I possibly can. There's no reason not to. And I did every day for the next 16 years, no matter what. 13 was pills. The only reason I took a pill was because somebody said, "Would you like a pill?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I would. I would like a pill." Then I asked, "What is it?" I said, "It was Tuinol," which meant nothing to me. And I said, "All right." Took a couple of Tuinol. 20 minutes later, I was laying on the floor, and I was very happy down there. I said, "This is nice. This is very nice. I'm not harming anyone. No one's harming me. I'm just laying on the floor here, and I can't remember what I was upset about 30 minutes ago. This is nice. This is I'm relaxed. It's good. Felt very good. Couldn't get up, but I didn't need anything, so why do you, why get up? So the pills, it was just, Seconal, Tuinal, Placidel, all that sort of stuff. I remember the last time I kicked Placidel, I couldn't speak for 2 weeks. That does get a little interesting after a while. How are you today, Earl? Oh, he's getting better. Good. 14, I started taking psychedelics, and the only reason I took a psychedelic is I went on a 10-hour Parsons boarding school, and I was hanging out with this girl named Debbie. Debbie was great. Debbie was 15 and a half, which made her an older woman. And she was a bad girl, and I had tremendous respect for Debbie. I thought Debbie was a real eye-opener for me. And she said, would you like some acid? And I said, well, yeah. And she opened up a lipstick tube and spun it open. There was this little tiny pill on the end of the tube. And I thought, that's very clever. The way she hid that in there, I thought, that was great. So I just took it, put it in my mouth, and swallowed it. And she looked at me and said, did you take that whole thing? And I said, of course I did. It was a very tiny pill. I'm used to these caps. This was like, She said, well, that was 3 hits of white lightning. Well, somebody over there, And needless to say, the next 2 days were very interesting. We went to the market at one point. We had decided that we were married, and we went shopping. And we were at the market, and we had the shopping cart, and we were going down the aisle, and all I remember of that particular episode was that I looked over at her and I said, do we have children? And she said, yes, we have 2. And I said, well, then we're going to need these diapers right here. And then I blacked out, and that was the last I remember of those 2 days. All I can tell you about that is that there's recovery, then there's recovery. To this day, going into a supermarket takes a real commitment on my part. I have to prepare myself to go in, because if you think about it, there's rows are very straight, everything's in order, the lights are those lights. I hate those lights. If you don't have a list, you're doomed, because there's so many decisions to make. I like corn, I'll get the corn. They'll say, what kind of corn do we have? We got the cream corn, we got the corn without the starch, we got this Mexicorn thing, we got this white corn thing, and somewhere over there is corn on the cob. Forget it, I'll do this another time. There's too many decisions to make. I'm very bad. I can go into a market and buy $300 worth of food and come home, and there is not a meal available out of all of this stuff. You've been in markets and seen the guy you just walk down the aisle and you see the abandoned cart? I understand that guy. It's just, no. I'll come back, man. So, I'm all over the place here. 15, I started shooting dope. And the only reason I shot dope was because I was at a party and this girl said, would you like me to stick this in your body? And I said, well, yeah. I had learned that this was the right thing to say. I mean, it was just another color in the paint box. I just thought, I wonder what's next. It just made no difference what was coming. And I remember she stuck this needle in me, and and as my head was going down, I just thought, oh yeah. That'll work. Because that was just bang. What problems? I'm talking about drugs. Ooh. I'm talking about drugs and identify as an alcoholic. There's a reason for that. I'm a child of the 60s. We grew up and we were focused on the drugs. We were very focused on the drugs. Our parents were the alcoholics. We were carving out our own identity. We were focused on the drugs. We weren't going to drink ourselves to death like our parents did. We were going to kill ourselves in an entirely new way. But I got to tell you, having done my inventory work and having looked back on my life, there was only one thing that was on the table every single day, and that was booze. There was always a bottle on the table. I mean, it's heroin one day, cocaine the next. I mean, my drug of choice was what do you got? I was not a specialist. I did not go one way. If I'd go to Connect to buy some heroin, they didn't have any, and they said, well, we got cocaine, I'd say, fine. Well, I was planning on going down, but if down's not available, let's go up. Up is fine. It's not the direction that we move in that's important, it's that we move now. Because I am not comfortable, if you leave me clean and sober, I am not comfortable standing here doing what I'm doing with the people I'm doing it with. I'm just not comfortable like that. I need to get out of right here and right now. I avoid right here, right now, always. I don't like it here, because if you leave me here, right here, I get upset. I get nervous. The self-centered fear kicks in. I'm thinking about me. You're looking at me. What are you thinking about me? What you're saying, how is this relating to me? And it just spins, and I'm not having fun. This is not good. So if we can just get out of here, it's great. Booze was always on the table because, in my opinion, drugs are unreliable. Drugs are very unreliable. Alcohol is extremely reliable. When was the last time you went to Connect for cocaine and you went to your deal and your dealer said, it's not that good today. Come back Thursday, we'll have something a little better for you. They never say that. They say, oh, it's great, it's the best, you're going to love it, you're probably going to need to cut this again, be careful, right? You never know what you got till you get it in your body. You go out and get yourself a quart of gin, you know what you got. You can count on it, because it'll do the same thing every time. You do so much cocaine, you can't get your mouth open anymore. You've overshot the mark. It's not a problem. Suck a little gin through your teeth, it'll get you back into the comfort zone, you can go on with the party. Not a problem. Booze is reliable. Not enough heroin to get you to that cool, quiet, dark, heart and lungs only working place. You don't have enough? Don't matter. Jack Daniels will get you the rest of the way. You can count on Jack. He's a very reliable individual. You just suck down that bourbon, you'll get there. You will get there. You will get there. Booze is reliable. Do too much acid, get a little spooky, don't worry. Drink. You just drink you right back into the comfort zone and you'll be all right. Very, very reliable stuff. There is no quality control going on out there in the street. None. You never know what you got till you get it in your body. So we, without even realizing it, were very dependent upon alcohol from the very, very beginning. That was the stuff that settled all differences between me and the drugs that I would consume. So at 16, I started going to mental institutions. I dropped out of high school. I figured 4.5 years of Latin was quite enough, thank you. Wasn't coming up in conversation a lot. Off I went. My father stepped back in my life, says, you've clearly gone insane, and committed me to my first mental institution for 3 months of observation and a year of rehabilitation, which I thought was a little excessive. So I started having conversations with I'm 16 years old, I'm locked down. The psychiatrist is coming in every day and asking me brilliant questions. Brilliant. How are you? How are you feeling? How would I know? I've been loaded since I was 12. How would I know? I'm fine. Can I go now? Well, we'll talk again tomorrow. I just shuffled around in the hospital, get my 3 little cups of pills a day, and my shot. You got a shot if you act it out. So like the treatment plan in there was find a new way to act out every day so you could get the shot. And I'm shuffling around in the joint all the time, and I decided I needed to escape from this place. It was clearly the only way I was going to get out of this joint. And I was sitting in the cafeteria during lunch with my favorite dining partner, Kilday. Kilday was a really insane person who was very animated. I mean, all you had to do with Kilday was just say, how you doing today, Kilday? And Kilday would start spinning. And she was very entertaining. I had all my meals with her. Every meal was like dinner and a show when you had meals with Kilday. You just eat your little food and watch Kilday flip out. So I made my escape was I used Kilday as my diversion, and I got Kilday spinning that way, right? And I saw the exit signs. They had the green ones like they have in here. And I decided to send it to ready, go! And I'm hauling ass, you know what I mean? I got the arms working and everything, and I'm looking down going, what's the matter here? I'm like a snail. And from then the real demoralizing moment, you hear over the loudspeaker, Ed, when you got a minute, you want to grab Earl? He's making a break for the door. Ed's over there in the nurse's station eating a sandwich going, yeah, I'll get him in a minute. As I'm working for the door. My tools for living at that point in my life were drugs, alcohol, violence, and run. Number 5 was, if you're going to get thrown in the nut house, you got to get out before they get the Thorazine in you. Because if you don't, you leave when they say. So I spent a little time in there, talked my way out of that place eventually, ran around on the streets of Los Angeles, threw a net over me again, dragged me back in to commit me to another place. At that time it was known as the Westwood. I was sitting in the intake process, and I said, I'm really, really glad you got me. It's really, really crazy out there. Hey, look at that. Blew out of that joint. Whistles are going, a bell's going off. I got an intern right on my tail. I break out into the backyard. I'm heading for this 12-foot chain link fence. At that point in my life, I'm like 16 years old. I'm a high school dropout. I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic. I'm at any moment, hopefully, an escaped mental patient. This is like my resume. This is what I had to say for myself. And I'm thinking, if I make that fence, I don't have any problems. I have no problems if I make that fence. So if I make that fence, I'll be loaded in 20 minutes. And that's all that matters, because I drink and use no matter what. You give me a good reason to stop, I don't. That's the difference between me and a problem drinker. You give a problem drinker a good reason to stop, they actually do. I know it's hard for us to believe, but they do. Problem drinker gets another drunk driving charge, goes before the judge. Judge says, you know what, I'm sick of you. I see you one more time, you're doing a year. Period. Going to do a year. No discussion. End of the year, we'll talk about it. Guy says, well, I don't want to go to jail. Actually stops drinking and driving. Me, I start wondering what it's going to be like in jail, because I'm going. I'm going to jail. And I know I'm going. Thank you very much, Your Honor, for the information. I'll pencil in a year here, because I'm going to jail. That's the difference between me and that guy. I had a lot of good reasons. I had lots of clear evidence in my life by the time I was 16 years old that drinking didn't work. That this was going bad fast for me. I was alienated from my family. I had dropped out of school. I was being committed to mental institutions. This wasn't a good picture. This wasn't what I had in mind for myself. Didn't matter. Didn't matter. I need to drink. I need to get high. That's what I do. I hit the streets. I spent 3 years out on the street. I spent 3 years out on the street drinking and using the way I do. Met a woman, 19 years old, at a party, talked for 20 minutes, went well, we were in love. Decided we needed to do something with our lives. And there was a guy who was come down from Northern California to do interviews for a business college in Northern California. So I went. Talked to this guy for an hour and a half. End of an hour and a half, he said, you will be a tremendous addition to our campus in the fall. I left there thinking, okay. Went back and saw my father, said, look, I got accepted to college. Don't ask. Write me a check for the year's tuition. I'm leaving town. He said, beautiful. Wrote me a check. Me and this woman piled all our belongings and 8 pounds of hash in the back of this truck, drove to Northern California to higher learning. Now, I show up to college. I don't even have a high school diploma. Right? Details. I go in. I say, here's a check for a year's tuition. The transcripts are in the mail. They said, lovely. I took the check. We set up a little apartment. She got a straight job. I became a drug dealer. I went to the local high school. Got my GED program whipped into shape, got my high school diploma, going to college during the day. Everything was looking up. After about 6 months, moved her back to L.A. because she was saying things like, I'm too loaded. If you can say it, it's not true. She wasn't getting it. The way I was living my life, the way I wanted to drink and use was just over the top for her. She thought I was out of my mind. So she moved back to L.A., and I got to drink and use the way I wanted to. I was studying marketing, production, distribution in school. My drug business was booming as a result of it. I had no problem with any of this. I had no morals. I had no ethics. I had no sense of family. I had no sense of community. I was just this solo maniac on the loose in the world. I had no connection to anything or anybody. I didn't know about this stuff. I thought people wanted it and I could supply them with it. I saw no problem with any of this. I knew that in America that's against the law, so I just was quiet about it. I figured, why not? So I just was doing my drug business. 20 years old, I got diagnosed to have malignant cancer. Flew back to L.A., had major surgery on my back. Doctors told me I was going to die, prepared my family for me to die. I remember thinking, you have absolutely no idea who you're talking to. You know, regularly somebody says to me, if you take any more of that, you're going to die. To which I reply, I was starting to OD every now and then, and I was 20 years old. They put me in a nuclear medicine program. They were shooting me full of all kinds of interesting stuff down in Los Angeles. I didn't like the buzz I was getting off their drugs, so I stopped. Went back to my house, and I got loaded the way I get loaded, and beat the cancer thing. Basically, I believe that my body had become so toxic, cancer could not live in my body. Oh. So I beat that, and it just kept blazing along. 21 years old, go back up to school. I'm back in college. By the time I'm 21 years old, I'm a junior in college. I got a high school diploma. I'm a junior in college. I'm editor-in-chief of my college newspaper. I've got an early acceptance to go to USC Law School. I got my ducks lined up pretty good out here, but I'm using like a maniac. Like a maniac. From the minute I come to in the morning until I pass out at night, I'm going nuts. And I'm starting to have lots of blackouts, and I'm coming to in strange places, in strange situations. It's heating up fast. My mother calls me from L.A. and says, look, your 22nd birthday's coming. We haven't been anywhere as a family in 10 years. We'll go anywhere you want to go. Let's just go somewhere as a family. She was crying and carrying on. And I said, fine. So I flew back to L.A. on November 6th, 1974. And on the morning of November 7th, 1974, we took off to fly to Guadalajara, and on the way there, the plane crashed. And my mother, my father, and my little sister were killed, and I was not. And I woke up on a mountain in Mexico, and my back was broken in 3 places, my skull was fractured, my leg was crushed, my arm was crushed, had a lot of internal injuries. The only thing I could move was my right arm, and I was awake. I was paralyzed from the waist down. And I laid there, and I watched them all bleed to death right in front of me. And there was nothing I could do to help any of them. And I looked up at God, and I said, you know what, God, I have no interest in a God that would take this 20-year-old girl, my little sister Kimberly, who was this kind, loving, gentle, creative, poetic little girl who'd never hurt a person in her life. And you leave a lying, cheating, thieving, dope fiend alcoholic like me on the planet. I've got no use for a God like this, and I renounce God. Some guys came up and scavenged the plane wreck, took the money out of my wallet, and then left me up on that mountain to die. I had no more use for you either. I was out of the game. I saw no need for any of the pretense that had been going on in my life. I saw no need for the facade of, yeah, I'm going to school, yeah, I'm doing this, yeah, I'm going to law school, lay off me, let me drink the way I want. I didn't need it anymore. I was out of the game. That was on my 22nd birthday when they died. And I just kept banging myself in the side with my arm because it was all I could move, and it hurt so bad when I did it, it kept pulling me up out of the shock because I'd been hurt bad enough before in my life and other things that I knew that if I shocked out, I was gone. So I just kept inflicting pain on myself, and I was pretty much in the mood for it, and stayed alive. And some other guys came up, and they took me down to a Red Cross station, and they tagged my right big toe, and they sat down and smoked, waiting for me to die at this medical station. And I didn't die, so they finally took me to the hospital. They patched me up. I called a friend of mine whose family was out of Mexico City. I called him in Northern California. He called his brother in Mexico City. They flew the company plane in, bribed a few people, and got me out of there because I had been in Mexico for 3 days. Once they got me to the hospital and they saw my identification, the federales showed up with an interpreter, and I had armed guards and an interpreter that interrogated me for 3.5 days. Wouldn't give me anything for pain. So I just laid there and took it because it has to do with another matter that had occurred in Mexico that we don't need to discuss here. They just wanted to know what I was doing in Mexico. And I got through that, and I got back to the States. I spent some time in a hospital. They told me I'd probably have a withered left hand, may or may not walk again, be blind in my left eye. And none of those things are true. And I got maximum doses of Demerol around the clock every 3 hours, 24 hours a day for a long, long time. Because when you're an alcoholic and a drug addict like me, you know how to work a story. And I worked it for everything it was worth, and I got as much drugs out of those people as I could. And when I came out of that hospital, I was strung out like a madman. I had a cast from here to here and another one on my leg and a cane. And I hit the road, and I got a lot of money from the airplane insurance and the estate, and I had a house in Bel Air, and I had a house in Palm Springs and 6 cars and cash to the roof and 2 basements. I had one full of drugs and one full of cases of booze. And I threw a party that lasted for 3.5 months. The neighbors thought I would pass out and come to, and there'd be like a whole new bunch of people in the house, and I didn't even know. And we went for it, and that was the beginning of my last run, which lasted until November of 1980, when I sobered up. And a lot of war stories, a lot of craziness, a lot of insanity, just like everybody else. I mean, coming to in different cities, coming out of blackouts, in all kinds of crazy situations with the police, with this, coming out of a blackout. I mean, one of the worst moments for me was sober. I wouldn't hurt a fly. I'm about as nonviolent as you can get. It's not part of who I am. But to come out of a blackout, for a guy like me to come out of a blackout, and a guy that I knew by the name of Al Davies, not a member of this program, had never needed it. He's an amazing human being. The last human being on earth that would talk to me when the end came. Wouldn't let me come to his house because he didn't know what I was going to do. But he would talk to me on the phone or meet me at the park. He called me up, and I answered the phone, and he said, well, I guess it's not true if you're answering the phone. I said, what are you talking about, man? And he said, well, apparently some friends of your families have become aware of the fact that last Friday night you were at a party and you got in a fight and you killed a guy. And so they've made arrangements with the city attorney's office for you to come in and turn yourself in, and they're going to take care of this for you. And I said, that's ridiculous. I didn't do anything like that. And he said, all right, all right. Hung up the phone, and I sat there trying to remember what I did last Friday night, and I had no idea. Stuff like that going on in your life that where you're just so out of control, and that didn't stop me from drinking. I drank until I burned my life to the ground. The last couple of years, I didn't use drugs anymore because they'd become unreliable. I was overdosing left and right. I got to the point where they threw me in an ambulance one more time, and as they put me up in the ambulance, the attendant looked down at me and he said, hi, Earl. I was getting known in the wrong circles, you know what I mean? I just taking me to the hospital so much, I got to talk to you while you pump my stomach. Run the tubes down. And, hey, bad day, Earl? Yeah, it was a bad day. I beat it to death. I wasn't interested in living. I didn't know how to die. The drinking was horrendous. I used 3-4 grams of cocaine to keep me on my feet so I could drink the way I wanted to drink. And when I get so toxic I couldn't drink anymore, I'd eat about 150 milligrams of Allium a day just to get me leveled out so I could get well enough to go back to drinking. It was not about getting sober. It was never about getting sober for me. The end came. I was 28 years old. I weighed 215 pounds. I had hair out like this, beard out like this. I was yellow. I was literally psychotic. I could not distinguish between fantasy and reality. I'd come to and I'd think of something I didn't know. Did I do it? Did I see it on TV? Did I read about it? Somebody tell me that? Did I dream it? I didn't know. It was just a big, maddening blur. I was being evicted when I came out of my last blackout because I had attempted to murder the landlord. Both my hands were broken. I was 215 pounds. I had broken 75 bones. I had over 600 stitches in me. I'd been stabbed twice, shot at. I mean, the madness, I took it right to the line. And I came out of that last blackout, and I had a moment of clarity. I don't know why that day, different from any other day. My sponsor told me for years, the bottom for a guy like you is dead. That's the bottom. What I had was it was a moment of clarity that had to do with an emotional and a spiritual bottom. I had known in my head that I was completely alone in the world for several years, and I was all right knowing that. I woke up that morning and I felt it. I felt that complete and total aloneness, and it broke me. That feeling of being totally alone, alcoholism had kicked my ass, and I just threw up 2 busted paws and I said, help. And they took me to the hospital one more time. They pumped my stomach at UCLA, and they said, get him out of here, he's going to die. And they took me to Olive View Medical Center out in San Fernando Valley, and they kept me there for 5 days, and they said, he's getting worse, get him out of here. And they took me by ambulance down to Long Beach General Hospital under the care of a lady by the name of Dr. Vicki Fox. They kept me for 12 more days of detox. They couldn't keep me there anymore, so they put me in a 30-day rehab bed, free bed, because I didn't have a dime to my name. I stayed there for 42 days, and I came out of there because my counselor, Ray W., who was a member of this program, said, if you want to stay alive, you're going to have to go to Alcoholics Anonymous because nothing else is going to save a guy like you. And I said, okay. And I went to a Friday night meeting in West Los Angeles, California, in the basement of the St. Timothy's Church, and I walked in the back door with my arms, sat down with my arms folded with the best tough guy look I could get on my face, and I was scared to death because none of my tools for living worked anymore. One more time, I had no more tools for living. And I sat down in the back, just mad dogging everybody, man. Just don't even come near me. But, of course, every meeting's got the guy with, 9 months who's just caught fire with Alcoholics Anonymous, And he's going to give it away tonight. I mean, all the older guys, all the old-timers, the guys with time, they saw me come in the door. They didn't come up on me because they knew who I was. I was not a tough guy or a bad guy. I was a very frightened individual, and those are dangerous people, and they knew it. They said, "Good to see you, brother. There's coffee right over there. There's a seat there. Glad you're here." From 20 feet away. Get my coffee, sit in the back. This guy, 9 months, all he saw was new guy, right? So he came flying across the room, and I saw him, and I just thought, oh, Jesus. Look at this guy. I mean, his hair was combed, and everything kind of matched. There was a lot of matching going on, And he was coming at me with his hand out, and he was smiling, and I hated that. I hated him. I don't know you, but I hate you. That was easy. And he said, "Hi, I'm Vegas. I'm an alcoholic." And I said, "So what?" "Me too, and it ain't exactly the highlight of my life. I don't know what you're so thrilled about. Get away from me." And he looked at me and he said, and I really hated this, he said, "Keep coming back." And these couple of guys standing over here went, "Hey, did you see that? He told me to keep coming back." And I thought, oh, good. I mean, I couldn't have articulated this then, but I can now. What happened inside me was great. There's clearly some deep spiritual significance to keep coming back. He knows what it is. Those other guys have made it clear they know what it is. You all probably know what it is. I don't know what it is. I'm the odd man out. You win. I'm the loser again. Thank you very much. I'm loving Alcoholics Anonymous so far. You've made it very clear I'm a loser. That's what we've done. I hate this place, and I particularly hate that guy Vegas. If you're new, just a suggestion, if you're new, the next time somebody comes up to you in a meeting and says, "Hey, keep coming back," or "One day at a time, buddy," or my personal favorite, "Hey, just turn it over." If they do that to you and you have no idea what they're saying, just step up to the plate. Say, "Excuse me, don't understand the deep spiritual significance of just turn it over. You mind expanding on that for me a little bit?" Well, in my neck of the woods in Southern California, if they're honest with you, about 75% of them would say, I don't know what it means either. I came in, they said it to me, you came in, I'm saying it to you. I have no idea what the hell any of that means. There's a guy over there that reads the big book. Let's go ask him. Maybe he'll know. Just a suggestion. Nothing to take seriously. So I sat in the back of this room, and I stayed for one reason. I stayed not because I was particularly thrilled with anything that was going on in here. I stayed because I quite literally had nowhere else to go. It's just the only way a guy like me could get here. Burn it to the ground and come sit here. I mean, but when I got here, if you'd have said, "Look, you have to go to a meeting a day, and they're from noon to midnight," I would have had no conflict in my schedule. I would have, all right. They're 12 hours a day. I'll be there. And I sat in the back, didn't hear a thing anybody said, but then this main speaker guy got up. Old guy, 65 years old, wino, ex-boxer, Skid Row bum. I'm none of these things. I spotted that immediately. What the hell is this old guy going to tell me? 28 years old, boxer, carry a gun. Skid Row. What was Skid Row? I couldn't find it. There's something very comforting about Skid Row to an alcoholic. You can go sit down in a doorway with a fifth of gin at 9:30 in the morning, and nobody is going to come up to you and say, "What are you doing?" They want to be your friend on Skid Row. There's something to this very day I find very comforting about that, that there's a place like that. So this guy gets up, and I don't know what he's talking about. He's different than me. If you're different than me, you don't know about me. I'm very good at spotting the differences between you and me. I just like that. I got it. You're different. I don't have to listen to you. which was my goal. You're 5 years older, 5 years younger, you come up with something else. You don't know about me. You're a woman, you don't know about me. You're black, you're Hispanic, gay, you don't know about me. You're going to know better or worse, none of that stuff, just different. You're different, you don't know about me, I'm going to listen to you. So this guy gets up, and he's a Skid Row bum, Xboxer, wino guy. Oh, please. Luckily, I had nowhere to go. So I sat there, and he got up, and he did two things that blew my mind. One was he talked openly and honestly about his feelings as a man. And I had never heard a guy do that before. He talked about getting up in the morning, his head chewing on him. His feet haven't even hit the floor. Head would say, glad you're up, I got a few things I want to discuss with you. You're worthless, you're no good, you never will be. There's really no point in getting up. There's no point in taking a shower. Just go back to bed because nobody out there likes you. They're never going to like you. Just head chewing on him. Talking to him as he's just marching to the shower. You go to the shower, get dressed, go to work, give an honest day's work, go get something to eat, go to a meeting. You know why he went to the meeting? Not to go get something from the meeting. He went there to give something to the meeting because he'd been through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. He'd had a spiritual awakening as a result of that, and now he had something to give away. So he went to a meeting because he knew that the whole point of a meeting was to have a place where the new person could come and hear a message of recovery and a message of hope. That was the whole point of a meeting, and he knew that. And he would go there, and the guys would raise their hand the first 30 days, and he'd go over and give them their number, and he'd talk to them and see what was going on, let them know that he was available to them, that there was another meeting for that group the next night. He would do all this stuff. I'm sitting back there listening to this going, whoa. Whole day his head's chewing on him, telling him he's worthless. There's no value to him at all while he does all this stuff. Then he goes home and he gets in bed, no wreckage. I was impressed. I never had a day like that. My head chews on me, I do something about the head. I medicate the head. I don't know about, or I act out in some other bizarre way. I don't know about just taking contrary action and moving through a day. I thought that was amazing. Second thing he did was he looked right at me and he said, you know what? I don't care whether you like what I got to say or not. You don't like it? Go to another meeting. I loved this because it made it clear to me this guy is not selling me something. He's sharing it with me. He's sharing it with me. If I want it, I can have it. It's mine. It's free. Take it. There's nothing there for me. Don't worry about it. Go to another meeting. Maybe you'll hear somebody who's got something to say that you like. I thought, this is cool. And I got to sit back there with that look of disdain on my face and say, you know what? This is cool. I'm coming back. I got a huge God shot, man, that night. Huge. Huge. I went home, got about an hour's sleep, cried a lot. Nuts. Just nuts. Got up and went to another meeting. I waited a week, actually. Truth is, I waited a week and I went back to that meeting to hear that guy talk again. I thought you went there on Friday nights to that place and you heard that guy talk. I didn't know you mixed it up the way you do. I didn't get it. She got up and talked, and I thought it was amazing. I thought it was amazing. She spoke from the heart. She talked about a message of recovery. I was amazed. Talking about stuff I'd never heard about in my life. Never heard about in my life. I thought, this is cool. I got to keep coming back. Found out there were other meetings. Started going to other meetings. All of a sudden, before I know it, I'm going to a meeting a night because I got nowhere else to go. I'm going to a meeting a night. People are leaving me alone. I'm not talking to anybody. I never took a chip. I didn't take a cake until I was 3 years sober. First time out my mouth in an AA meeting when I was 2.5 years sober at the direction of my sponsor. I was on this podium. Are you crazy? Get up and tell those judgmental people who I am? No way, man. Because if they find out who I am and the things I've done, they'll throw me away and I got nowhere else left to go. So I'm just going to sit quiet in the back. I'll clean up your cigarette butts. I'll stack your chairs. I'll make your coffee. I'll do anything you ask me to do, but I will not go up to that podium. My sponsor said, that's a lovely sentiment, and you're the first speaker here next Saturday night. Scott talked about him last night. His name was Donald M. One of the finest examples of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous I have ever known. I found him as a sponsor. Actually, Donald Madden told me there was a program called Alcoholics Anonymous 18 months before I got here. I was in a business meeting with some producers. They wanted to do a movie about my life, which I declined. Make that movie and you got to go live in Europe. But the producer for this film brought in her set designer, and we were sitting there talking, and all of a sudden, and he had worked with these people for 6.5 years, anonymously. None of them knew that Donald was in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous for 6.5 years. And that night, he broke his anonymity in front of those people, and he said to me, young man, I got to tell you something. I'm an alcoholic, and I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And if you don't come to Alcoholics Anonymous, you're going to die. because he saw the shape I was in. And everybody's mouth just dropped open. And I looked at him, and I remember thinking, that's actually very kind, that he's saying that. A little extreme, but it's kind. And he gave me his card. And when you're out there cutting and slashing like I was, you don't say business cards. You're not doing any business with people that have business cards. You just thank you very much, you throw the card away, and you go. I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous looking for a sponsor. Brand new, crazy. Not many people would talk to me. This lady's talking to me. She goes, I said, I can't find a sponsor. And she said, you ever heard of this guy named Donald Madden? And I got chills because that was the guy from the meeting 18 months earlier. I said, that's really weird you would mention his name. I got to go. And I went home. I went to my phone book and I opened it up. On the M page, there was one card, paper clipped to the M page, and it was Donald Madden's business card. And I thought, this is getting so spooky, I got to call him. Dialed up the phone. He answered it like he always did. Donald Madden. That's how he answered the phone. Donald Madden. Said, hi, Donald, you probably don't remember me. My name is Earl Hightower. And he said, oh, yes, I do. And I said, well, I've been going to meetings of AA, and I'd like to talk to you. He said, be in my office tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, click. So I stayed awake all night. Scared. Was scared. I was going to go meet this guy. I was actually going to do something I hadn't done for years. I was going to go ask somebody for help. And I thought about it all night. And I went over there at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I said, will you sponsor me? He said, what? I said, will you sponsor me? And he said, yes. You don't have to like what I tell you, and you don't have to think it's a good idea. You just have to do it, because this is a program of action. And I said, fine. And he was my sponsor for the next 14 years until the day he died. He died July 25th, 1994. And he was the best friend I ever had. He was the most important person in my entire life. I was with him longer than I was with my parents. He was an amazing human being. He would call me up and he'd say, go pick up Eddie on the corner, drive him to the meeting tonight. See you there. We'll be setting up. I say, fine. Go over and pick up Eddie. I got like 18 months or something, Go get in the car. I'm Earl, get in the car. Eddie, get in the car. Eddie's got like 6 days, and Eddie gets in the car and he says, hi, I'm Eddie. How you doing? I got back together with my wife, and I got my job back, and we got the houses all straightened out, and everything's with 6 days, and I look over and I go, shut up, Eddie. I hate you. My sponsor said to pick you up, take you to the meeting. I'm doing that. If you want to ride back to this corner after the meeting, I'll be happy to do that for you too. But for now, shut up. Eddie'd say, okay, Nothing was going to dampen his spirits, and I would drive him. This is great. Guy's got 6 days. He's already doing better than me. I hate him. We would go to the meeting, and Donald would be there, and he would say, it would be like an 8 o'clock meeting. I'd get there at like 6:45 with Eddie. He'd say, it's 6:45, you're late. And you know why he was saying that? My commitment at that meeting was cleanup. My commitment started 9:45, 15 minutes after the meeting. I'm getting it to an 8 o'clock meeting at 6:30, 6:45. The reason I'm coming that early is because I have nowhere else to go. I have nothing to do. I'm scared to death. I have to be around these people. And he knew that I would go get these guys and I would come to that meeting early because I didn't have anywhere to go. And before anybody in that room could turn around and say, what are you doing here? The meeting doesn't start. And put me on the spot like that, I would come in and Donald would bark at me that I was late. So that everybody would think I was supposed to be there because he had said, you be here early. He protected me when I needed protecting. And other times I remember I had like 2.5 years sober, and I'm standing at the meeting, a Saturday night Ohio Street meeting, and I've got some other crazy commitment at that meeting, and Donald's the secretary of the meeting, and the speaker's up there, and the speaker's flailing away. The speaker's just going. And I'm standing back in the back of the meeting, and I'm caving in. It's just I've taken the last step I can take, and I'm just caving in the back of the meeting. I can't even hear anything anymore. It's just that, good, you're never going to win me. What's the point? This is crazy. You just, just caving in. And Donald saw me, and he got up, and he walked up to the front of the meeting hall, tapped the speaker on the shoulder. The speaker stepped aside. He got up to the podium, and he said, Earl! And I'm in the back of the room just yanked me out of my head. And then, and I was like, yeah. And he said, we're having a meeting. Okay. And then invited the speaker back and went down and sat down. Now, I didn't talk to anybody in Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't talk to anybody but him. Everybody in the meeting's going, who the hell is Earl? And I've been cleaning up the meeting for 2 years. You know what I mean? Nobody knows who. The man kicked me in the ass when I needed it. Just hit me between the eyes with a 2x4 when I needed it, and put his arms around me and loved me when I needed it. He went so far beyond anything anybody could ever ask of a sponsor. It's unbelievable. And when he died, it broke my heart. Absolutely broke my heart. Didn't know what I was going to do. And I was sitting with a close friend of mine, and we were waiting for him to come pick up Donald's body. And I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I heard his voice in my head, because I'd heard that voice every day for 14 years. And he heard him say, you get a sponsor right now, you little son of a bitch. Okay. Called up a guy I knew Donald loved and respected, that I also loved and respected. I said, Donald's dead, will you sponsor me? And he said yes. And he's been my sponsor. I was sponsored for about 3 hours. And it was a dicey 3 hours. And I've since come to understand that Donald Madden's not dead. That was the thing that brought me the relief. Donald Madden's not dead, because I'm here. And scores of guys like me are here, who got the message from Donald Madden, who got it from Norm Alpe, who got it from Chuck C., who got it from Bill W. That's my lineage. Those are my guys. That's the line that I got. And everything that Donald gave me, I give to a whole bunch of people that I sponsor, who sponsor another sea of people. And we go through the book, and we do the work, and we do the things that they tell us to do in Alcoholics Anonymous, and we're staying sober, and we're living free. It's an amazing process. So, as long as after he died, I said, I'm not saying no to speaking at all. I'm going to go wherever I'm asked to speak. And I was gone for a year and a half. Flying all over the country. I've been all over I've been to Halifax, to now to Kona, all through Mexico, Canada, all across the United States, telling people that there's guys like Donald Madden walking the planet. Guys that take absolutely, completely worthless human beings like myself and rebuild us from the ground up. And they do it because that's what was done for them. Donald Madden was committed to 24 mental institutions. He's the only guy I ever met who was evicted from a mental hospital. They told him, you don't leave now, you're never going to leave. Get out. He was a beautiful man, and I love him right now. I've learned to love a lot of other people. I came here holding true to the promise I made on that mountain in Mexico in 1974. I'll never love another human being again as long as I live, and there's no way I'll ever tell any of you who I am. There's no way you're going to love me. I was out of the game. And that promise was true up until I was about 2.5 years sober. When I woke up, 3 years sober, I woke up, and I was horrified. And I called up Donald Madden, and I said, Donald, something's gone terribly wrong. He said, what's that? I said, I love you. He said, I know. And he meant he knew how I felt. He knew what that to love somebody was such a dangerous, crazy thing for somebody like me. I couldn't take it. And it expanded. I became friends with another guy, Christopher. Christopher's been my best friend for 14 years now. And we're closer than brothers. And I got a lot of love in my life, and it all started with Donald Madden, because he's the one who came in, and he said to me, look, there's this loop in Alcoholics Anonymous. You come through that door, Earl, you got nothing anybody wants, including yourself. You come through that door, you got nothing. You come here and you throw up your hands and you say, help me. And you take from us, because that's all you can do. You take from us. Hopefully there's people in the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous who've been through the 12 steps and have some experience to give you on how to stay sober one day at a time. And you take from those people until you go through those 12 steps. You have a spiritual awakening as a result of that. Now you come back to meetings from a different point of view. You come back now and you sit down, and some guy raises his hand in the first 30 days and he's got tombstones in his eyes. He's crazy. He's going to drink and he's going to die, and he doesn't know how to not do that. And he needs help. And you go over and you talk to him now, because he's not going to believe. I got 16 years of sobriety now. A guy comes in with 2 days and I say I got 16 years. He thinks he's lying. Because you can't get 16 years. You can't get a day. Some guy with 6 months, 9 months, maybe he can buy that, and the guy with 6 or 9 months can help that guy when the guy won't listen to me. So he's got something to give that I don't. We all got our place in here, and it's this human chain, and we hand it on down, and we hand it on down, and we hand it on down. I didn't get into the book till I'd been here a few years, and I didn't understand what was going on, man. I was going to 7 to 9 meetings a week. I was sponsoring guys. I was speaking when I was asked to speak. I had 2 commitments. I was taking out panels. I was all over the place, man. I was doing it all. I was going nuts. And I walked up to this old timer, and I said, "What's the deal, man? I'm doing everything you tell me to do in here, and I'm going nuts. What's going on?" He said, "Kid, I saw you come into Alcoholics Anonymous. If you don't get a program, you're going to die. Go away." Well, very enlightening, but let me review that for you again. I'm going to 7 to 9 meetings a week. I talk to my sponsor every day, sponsoring guys. I got commitments. I got this. I got that. I'm doing everything. What are you talking about? That's a great program. Kid, it's fellowship. That's the fellowship. Vital to your recovery. Glad you got it. Program you will find in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I suggest you read the 164 pages like your life depends upon it, because if you don't do that, you're going to die. Go away. All right. I said, "All right, you little son of a bitch. I got a book, and I'll read this thing." Me and Christopher got together and said, "What's the deal in here?" Remarkable find, the Big Book. It's absolutely remarkable. They have them everywhere. On the old jacket, there was a circle with a triangle, ancient spiritual symbol. It stands for mind, body, and spirit, brought together as a whole human being. And therein lies the balance I had sought all my life, drunk and sober, and never been able to find. Had no balance. No balance at all. Victim, assassin. Victim, assassin. I don't live in the middle ground. I don't know about the middle ground. I'm all over here on the edge all the time. No balance. Sober either. Sober said, running is good. I thought, running is good. I started to run. I'll run. And I would run. I ran until I hallucinated. I would show up at meetings eating bananas and yogurt. Well, how are you, Earl? Cool, man. It's really cool. I was running. God was right here. It was good. Right. I ran till my knees, my feet, of stress fractures in my feet. I couldn't get out of bed. A little extreme. Said, lift weights. Weightlifting. Good. Lifted weights till I literally ripped the muscle from the bone. You're doing this is good, man. I'm catching a buzz now. This is great. Something seems to be wrong here. That took 1.5 years to heal. Work. I'll become a workaholic. No balance. None. Mind, body, spirit. Brought together as a whole human being. Alcoholics Anonymous adopted that symbol. It's unity, recovery, and service. Same thing. Unity's the body. I bring it here. I got to be with you. I can't get sober. We can. Left to my own devices, I die drunk. And I know it. I know that. I got to be with you. I got to look you in the eye. I got to see your recovery over there. I got to see you break through over there. I got to see you surrender over there. I got to see it. If I can see it, I can smell it, I can taste it, I can do it. I can do it with you. So I got to show up here all the time. All the guys I talk to say, "How was it out there?" The guys I know that go out and figure they're going to do a little recreational heroin and come on back in after a little bit. They go out and I go, "How was it out there?" "It's not good." Nobody's come back and said, "It's great, we're going again Tuesday." Nobody says that. Say, "Well, how did it happen?" Well, I stopped going to meetings. Everybody, always, first thing they did was they stopped going to meetings. Didn't connect up, didn't hook up with their people. Got to be with you. Recovery, that's the unity. It's the body, I bring it here. Recovery is of the mind, the greater aspect of my disease. Because I got it figured pretty much everybody in here has already stopped drinking and using. The reason we're still coming to this thing is because it's about not starting again. That's what it's about. It's not about stopping. It's about not starting again. How do I not start again? To not start again, I got to deal with the greater aspect of my disease, the obsession of the mind. A thing that tells me a couple of drinks is all right. A couple of drinks never hurt you, Earl. That's true. Never had a couple of drinks. 2 drinks doesn't do what I'm there to do. The only reason to have a couple of drinks is while you're waiting for them to bring you another couple of drinks. We're just killing time with the first 2. Get it rolling, because nothing's kicked in. You're not even well yet, The headache isn't gone. The shakes aren't gone. That's like 6, 8. That's in there. Feeling a little better. Let's roll now. Recoveries of the mind, not start again. The book tells me the persistence of this illusion is astonishing, this belief in a lie that I can drink like a normal man, that many of us pursue it to the gates of insanity and death. That's me. Been there. Been locked up, been tagged. Insanity, death. I'm that guy. I can't do it anymore, and I know it. My ticket's punched. I got to stay with you. So I got to do the whole deal. Recovery to the mind. So how do you do that? How do you relieve yourself of the obsession to drink or use? How? You work the 12 steps. That's what they're designed to do. That's the whole point. The whole point. 164 pages in the big book tells me exactly how to do them. Exactly how to do them. Step 1 is what's the problem? Lack of power is my dilemma. I'm powerless over this thing. That's my problem. I may be normal in every other area. I'm not, but I could be. Whole life's unmanageable as a result of this one thing. I'm not going to stand here and lie to you. I mean, step 2, if that's my problem, what's my solution? It's going to have to be a power greater than me that could restore me to sanity, soundness of mind, relieve me of the obsession to drink and use. That's what I got to find. Biggest promise in the book, I think, that something like that could happen to a guy like me. I said, okay, I know what my problem is. I know what my solution is. Still go drink. A lot of people sitting around in bars talking about the problem and the solution. Step 3, I better make a decision to do something about it. Because if I don't take some action in my life, knowing this stuff, self-knowledge is going to avail me nothing. I'm going to lose again. I will drink again. So I get on my knees. I say the 3rd step prayer. I get back up, and I immediately embark upon a plan of action that's going to bring that solution about in my life. It's going to make it happen. Not something I'm thinking about, something I'm living, something I can manifest in my life. I can see it in my life. I can watch it happen. So I do it. I got 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and 9 in that action plan. Me, God, and you. In that order. Me, God, and you. Clean it up here, hook it up with God, straighten it out with you. That's what it is. Me, God, and you. I got nobody else to play with. 4 and 5, I swallow large chunks of truth about myself. I look at the patterns in my life. I look at my best thinking. I look at the results of that best thinking. I see what's really going on in black and white. No discussing it, no fuzzy little conversation, no nebulous discussion. Here it is. And here's my part in it. Column 4, resentment, fear, and sex. Was my part. 5, I read it before another human being. Before God to another human being. Here, this is who I am. This is the stuff I do. This is the result of my best thinking. This is an absolutely wonderful example of just how powerless I really am. Here it is. Manifest powerlessness, manifested in my life over and over and over and over again. In my resentments, in my fears, in my sexual relationships. And it's interesting, my sexual relationships, my sex inventory isn't necessarily about who have I had sex with. My inventory is about who have I harmed sexually. If I'm sleeping with that guy's wife, easy. If I'm sleeping with that guy's wife, and he finds out about it and is devastated as a result of my behavior, I have harmed that man. If I want to have sex with that woman, she says, no, get away from me. I go talk a lot of trash about her. I haven't had sex with that woman. I have harmed her. However, she goes in my inventory. And I put it all in there. I take care of the business at hand there. Read it before another individual. 6 and 7, I hook it back up with God. 8 and 9, I hook it back up with you. I'm very, very sorry. Here's your money. I go back in the house. None of this long, sordid tale about my spiritual quest. Just make the amends. Give them the money. They don't want my money. They want their money. They want their money. And I give it to them. When I'm done with that, I got 10, 11, and 12 to keep me in the game. Same order, same group, everything. 10 is me, 11 is God, and 12 is you. And I do these steps all the time. 10, I continue to take personal inventory, and when I'm wrong, I promptly admit it. Promptly. They know me. Promptly. I'll get back to you in August. And I'll get a resentment going. I'll fester. I'll die. Resentment, number one killer, man. Wipes a lot of us out. Can't do it. Promptly admit it. 11, I seek God. Action step. I seek God. How? Through prayer and meditation. Well, what do you pray for? Knowledge of His will for me and the power to carry that out. That's what I pray for. Thy will, not mine. Thy will, not mine. I don't make deals anymore. They don't work. They don't work. Because I make deals based on my finite mind. I'd rather have God handle that. Much more to work with than I do. Right? Why do I meditate? I meditate to quiet the mind so that when the answers come, I can hear them. Right? The book tells me I'll come to rely upon my intuition. I thought that was just a cute little line that somebody came up with, and I find that it's very, very real. Very real. 12 is the third side of the triangle, service. Having had a spiritual awakening is the result of doing these steps. It was the whole point. I can practice these principles, and I can carry this message. Go be a service. Unity is the body, I bring it here. Recovery is of the mind, I work the steps. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of that, I can be a service. I can go into a meeting and I can say, how can I help? Anywhere I go, I can go in and say, how can I help? Not because I'm a good guy, but because I want to stay sober. Because I want it to end with me. I want the madness that's gone on in my family and the generations before me to stop right here. I want to be sober. I want to be sober. And I can't stay sober unless I'm comfortable sober. I was talking with Frank. Frank, you know what Frank and I did today? The fishing champ over there? Frank said, I'll take you. We were talking about this yesterday, and he said, I'll take you. So we met this afternoon. We drove at the beach. There's a couple of guys, a couple of madmen. A couple of guys that should have been dead years ago. Should be dead. When we drove up the coast here just a little ways and we walked down on the beach together, Frank and I had said maybe 30 words to each other before we left. Never seen each other before. Right? But he knows all about me, and I know all about him. We're in here together. We got in the car and we drove up this deal and stopped and got him a sandwich and went down to the beach and rented some fins and some snorkels and some masks. Waded out into this water and went down in and went swimming around looking at fish. I thought I had seen yellow before. I thought I'd seen blue. I didn't know that I had never seen those colors before. And I was very surprised to have them swim up to me. And we're looking at these fish, and I'm bobbing around in the ocean, watching fish, swimming around. All of a sudden, here comes a big turtle, swimming by, that looked like a prehistoric spaceship underwater, man. This thing with the things going real slow like this, right? It was a very cool turtle. This was a smooth turtle, man. He was, how you doing, buddy? As long as you stay over there, we're cool. And I swam along with this turtle. Just turtle checking me out, me checking the turtle out, and we swam along for a while. And went swimming back around and hooked up, and Frank and I stood up on this reef. And we're standing there, and the water goes a long way that way and a long way that way, and we're standing about shoulder deep in the water with masks up on our head. And we just start talking about our experience, our strength, and our hope. We just start sharing with each other. And it was this magical moment. It's magic, man. I felt this real connection to this guy that I didn't even know an hour ago. That's the kind of life I'm having. Wave goodbye to the turtle, go hang out with Frank a while, go back up to the beach, turn in our stuff, we drive back, have a nice little time. Yeah. Guys like me don't get to do stuff like this. I got 3 stepdaughters. I guess they're ex-stepdaughters. My wife and I are divorced. Does that make them ex-stepdaughters? Let's put it this way. They're not mine. They're not mine, and I have no legal right to them. All right? And haven't for a couple of years. 2 15-year-olds and a 7-year-old. 7-year-old calls me Papa Earl. The 2 15-year-olds call me Dad. Their dads are alive and around. You know who they spent Father's Day with last year? Me. They spent Father's Day with me. Guys like me we don't get things like that. We don't get to have relationships with people like that. I don't get to have kids in my life that love me and that I love. I mean, unabashedly. I mean, the 7-year-old, every once in a while, I look at her and I say, I gotta bite you. I gotta. You're so cute, I gotta bite you. She looks at me and says, no biting! And she runs. And the 15-year-olds, I'm always hugging them and squeezing them and telling them I love them. And they talk to me about amazing things. They talk to me about things that absolutely scare me to death, horrify me. And I sit there trying to look like an, yeah. And inside I'm just, oh my God. I don't know how to deal with this, but, and what's so funny is that they know that. They know I don't know. I remember when I separated from the mother, the 15-year-old, I knew, she's going to be so mad. And I went and picked her up to take her out to lunch to give her a chance to go ahead and be mad at me. If she needed to get mad at me, to go ahead and let her have the opportunity to do that. So we're driving along, and I'm fumbling through this thing, and I'm just so confused, and I'm stumbling all through it, and all of a sudden she looks over at me and she goes, look, I don't care where you live, are you still my dad? I said, excuse me just a minute, pulled the truck over, got out, got emotional, pulled myself back together, went back in the truck and said, that's the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me in my life. And of course, I'll be your dad. And we hang out. And I love them. How does a guy like me get to do that? I never loved anybody, would never let anybody love me. I don't care about people. I never cared about you. I wanted alcohol, drugs, sex, or information on how to get in, and you're all of the above. If you didn't have it, next. I didn't live like that. Alcoholics Anonymous has taught me about having a sense of family. Because I have one now. I have one now. That means everything in the world to me. I have a sense of community. I treat people with respect. I found out that I had it completely wrong. Tom and I have talked about this stuff, the flip side, man. It's always on the flip side. It's never on the side you think it is. It's always on the other side. I thought if I came in here and I showed you respect, you would show me respect. Hasn't been the case. If I loved you, you would love me. Hasn't been the case. If I was honest with you, you would be honest with me. What's happened is that if I am honest with you, what happens is I become an honest man. If I show you respect, I become a respectful man. If I give love to you, I become a loving man. Those are the gifts. Those are the rewards. People tell me all kinds of crazy stuff about Alcoholics Anonymous. I hear them say, you know, Earl, Alcoholics Anonymous is about love. Or Alcoholics Anonymous is about acceptance. Or forgiveness. And I'm thinking, you know, lofty ideals. I mean, it's great stuff. But I disagree. I respectfully disagree. I think what Alcoholics Anonymous is about staying sober. That's what Alcoholics Anonymous is about. It's about staying sober. And it says in the book, it says in there that there is a solution to my problem. That I can find a way to stay sober. And that not many of us like the 3 things you got to do to stay sober. It's on page 25 in the book, right at the top. There is a solution in italics. Then it lists the 3 things you got to do for successful consummation of this deal. Absolutely. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. That's the only requirement. However, if you'd like to stay, there's a few suggestions that they have for guys like me. And if you do those suggestions, you can get the emotional sobriety that comes. You can find the peace. You can find yourself suddenly, for the first time in your life, being comfortable, standing where you're standing, doing what you're doing with the people you're doing it with, stone cold sober. Like my new sponsor said, you actually find yourself between these. You can get it right. He says, if I can just get between those, if I can get in there, I'm cool. Because that's where my life is. That's where God is. That's where the respect I want to have in my life for myself and for others. That's where all of it is. My life is right now. There's nothing going on anywhere else. And if I can get comfortable being right here, standing in front of a bunch of people I don't know, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. The magic that goes on here is remarkable. If I do the things that are suggested of me in Alcoholics Anonymous in an effort to stay sober and not start again, I run into all kinds of love and acceptance and forgiveness. And all those things that people tell me Alcoholics Anonymous is about, I run into all that stuff. I find all of that stuff coming into my life. It's just the way that it just fans out in my life is amazing. I come here because I want to stay sober. I stay clear of purpose on that. I do the things that are asked of me in Alcoholics Anonymous so that I may stay sober. As a result of doing those things, I have a remarkable life in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous. If you're new, congratulations. Congratulations. You're out there cutting and slashing with the best of them, man. You do it till you can't do it anymore. And you come dragging in here with your sword and your shield hanging down by your side, and you just, what are you guys doing? And I can't do that. Beautiful. If you're sitting there thinking, I may have to kill 3 to 5 people before I blow my own brains out tonight. Perfect. You're in the right place. You hate everything and everybody. Cool. You're scared to death that we're going to find out the crazy-ass things you've done, and we're not going to let you stay. I understand you're thinking that way. Couldn't be further from the truth. I know these people look all dressed up, facing the right direction, looking like they know what the hell's going on. But I guarantee you, we did not look like this when we got here. There's a lot of people in the world, man. They like to party and like to party hard, but when they run right up to the edge of the cliff, they take it right to the edge of the cliff and they slam on the brakes and go, the cliff. They slam on the brakes right here. There's other people that run right up to the cliff and they never touch the brakes, man. They just run right up to the edge of the cliff and just dive. They go to jails. They go to mental hospitals, and they land in here. This room is full of the people that just dove right off the cliff. They're not as calm and peaceful and put together as they seem to be. We have a lot of fun in Alcoholics Anonymous. We lead full, remarkable lives. For me, I'll speak for me. I have always been about the buzz. I got to catch the buzz. Got to get the buzz. And that has not changed for me. Where's the buzz? I would like some of that, please. And I found it in all kinds of things in Alcoholics Anonymous. The difference between being sober and being loaded is when you're out there, that need for immediate gratification, it's about, give it to me now, give it to me now, give it to me now. I'll pay later, I'll pay later. And I always did. I always paid later, and the price became horrific for just a little tiny, maybe sort of kind of buzz. You know? It was paying a horrible price for a little tiny baby buzz, right? And I wasn't getting anywhere with that. In here, it's the exact opposite. You're going to pay now. You're going to pay now. You go and get a 30-day chip. I have more respect for a 30-day chip than any other kind of celebration of time in Alcoholics Anonymous. I think it's amazing that you can get anybody can get a 30-day chip. That is remarkable. Because you haven't been here long enough to really grasp these tools and work with the tools and understand the way this works and think this thing through and be involved and take the action and see the changes that occur in your life. You're just going on blind faith because you know you can't go out there and do that anymore. It's an amazing thing to get 30 days. And it's a bitch to get. The longer you stay here, if you do the work, it gets easier to stay here, and the reward for it gets higher, gets greater, which means the buzz is getting bigger. The buzz is getting bigger. That means that I got a bigger buzz ahead of me. I got a bigger buzz. I'm going to know a deeper kind of love. I'm going to know greater compassion. I'm going to experience more dignity as a man. I'm going to become a better friend. I'm going to become all the things that I want to be in life can expand and grow and become enhanced as a result of my staying here and sticking to the path, working through these steps, living a spiritual life, doing the things that I need to do. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm no saint. I do things in my life that would probably frighten a lot of you. That's all right. It's my life, and that's the life that I live. I know what I can and cannot do in sobriety. I'll live my life. Who I got to get next to and be introduced to in here is me. Who you got to do is you. I guarantee you, if you're new and you stay here and you do these things, when you finally meet you, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. You're going to be very pleasantly surprised. It's the nature of the game, man. We're in the game. Alcoholics Anonymous never told me you're going to get sober and you're going to have a perfect life and everything's going to be cool and you're going to make millions of dollars and you're going to marry the lovely woman and have the 3 lovely children and live in a lovely home and no disease will come or harm will come to anyone that you love or you. Alcoholics Anonymous got me back in the game. Got me back in the game. That's a very good deal as far as I'm concerned. Now I get to go be in the world and do what I want to do. I want to go skydiving. I want to paint. I want to play blues guitar. I want to take photographs. I want to be a wild man. I want to dance. I want to sing. Whatever I want to do, I can do. I can celebrate my life any way that I want, and so can you. Whatever your dreams, your hopes, your aspirations are, you can have them back in here. But you got to come here so that you stay sober. Stay sober and carry the message to the next guy. They tell us you can't keep it unless you give it away. I had no idea what that meant until my sponsor said, that guy over there needs you. Go talk to him. And standing there thinking I didn't have anything to give him, I went over and talked to him and found out, what do you know, I do. Some of those things that he'd said to me, it sunk in. I just told him what Donald told me, and we kept moving. I'm very happy to be sober. I've got a great life. My dead family's dead, and I've released them and I let them go with love, and I got new people in my life, and I got a new family, and I'm happy. Happy. Happiness is wanting what you've got. I like what I got. I like being a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I love being in Kona, and I love swimming with the turtles, and I love seeing Tom sitting down there, and I love hanging with my new friend Frank. I love that I'll get on a plane. I get on planes now. I crashed. I don't like planes. I sit on planes and people tell me it's going to be all right, and I go, you don't understand. By the time we land, whoever's sitting next to me is all messed up about being in a plane. I feel I have a sense of community now. I feel it's my civic duty to straighten these people out. Alcoholics Anonymous comes, I go. They call you guys call, I come. Come to Kona? Sure. Fly to Honolulu, get on another plane, fly to Kona, and then do the same thing back? You bet. Scared to death the whole way. But I can do it because I'm not paralyzed by my fear anymore. I can do it because I got faith in God, and when my time's my time, I'll go. I may kick and scream, but I will go. And I'm really glad I did it because I wouldn't want to miss being here with you guys and hanging out with you people. I wish you the thing that I think is the hardest for people like us to find. I wish you peace. I wish you happiness. And I hope that you stay. Thanks.